maybe there's some truth to people's criticism, but you can't let it stop you because then it becomes true.
The year is only going to be as good as your decisions. And that's like, it's somewhat hardcore, but if you're consistently and constantly letting yourself down, what results do you really think you're going to get? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, next level Mastermind. Today, for week number 40, we are going to talk to you about the most important habits to find massive success in 2021. So if I look back, if I reflect on Kevin even 3 years ago, I hoped that I was going to have massive success year after year, but my habits would not really show you that. So I always tell the story of, being a year into entrepreneurship and smoking weed on a Tuesday, literally like 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, saying like, well, I'm done for the day, and I got up at like 8, and I thought I was going to succeed. Okay, so I just wouldn't have, and I wasn't. I wondered why Alan and I weren't quote unquote winning. It's because we didn't have winning habits. So what we put together today are the things that I wish I knew back then, that Alan wished he knew as well, and what you guys can really take and make this year the best year of your life. A lot of these are going to be fundamentals, but again, a lot of us forget fundamentals. Common sense is not always common practice, so we want to make sure that we're hitting you guys with the things that we have seen really impact us and other people as well.
So a few housekeeping. Wow.
This is gonna be good.
Yeah, right. I feel like you're farther away than normal. A little bit farther away.
I am.
I feel lonely over here. Few housekeeping items. So as always, you can put your questions in the chat. We want you to interrupt us. We want Amy to interrupt us. Amy can either ask the question or you can unmute and ask the question live. We do not mind at all that you interrupt us. The other thing too is we're going to go for the full hour here. So we have to the top of the hour. We're going to keep it on time. We're going to go over 10 items. Is that all? The other thing that I want to pre-frame this with is...
Say Instagram handle?
Alan.
Instagram handles.
Okay.
Is that what you were going to say?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so also we want you guys masterminding and networking with each other. I've seen countless times just people benefiting each other. This is not about Kevin and I. This is about a community of like-minded people that are going to grow and develop together. Ships in the same harbor always rise and fall together. We want to rise the ships in the harbor. And so you getting better and us getting better is better for everybody. And we want you all networking offline in between these week to week. So this is week 40. We are super grateful to have you here. We are not stopping this train anytime soon. And the last thing that I want to say before we jump into these 10 principles is I don't want you to say to yourself, first of all, I want you to get a notebook. Writing these down, you'll retain far more of it. Okay? Got to get a notebook. Number 2, ask yourself from 0 to 10, how well am I doing this thing? Because it's not, I already know this. No. It's how well am I doing this? How consistently am I doing this? How much have I mastered this? And would my results prove that I've mastered this? Because Kevin and I 3 years ago, the only difference between our results now and our results back then is predicated on our habits. And your results will always be a byproduct of your habits. And so we want to help you create winning habits, and that's what this is about.
And then a quick thing, too, and I would love to use the Mastermind, this thing that we're doing as an example. With all of these things, create a train and let it roll. Like, again, we're week 40, and a lot of things have changed. We've done it remotely. We've done it together. We've done it separate. But it's a commitment, okay? So one of the things, and this isn't on here, but one of the things that you have to really build a habit in, and obviously, being committed is partly a habit. You have to stay committed to whatever it is that you come out of this with, right? You probably set resolutions. Maybe you didn't. Alan and I aren't really the resolution type. But what is it that you can stay committed to all year? When things get hard, when circumstances change, when the things around you change, when the people around you change, commitment is going to really help. And if you don't have commitment, it's going to be extremely hard to build habits. You good?
I'm good.
Okay, let's rock. All right. I cannot tell you how much it pains me to hear from people who are allowing 5 people in their lives to stop them from helping hundreds or thousands or millions of people. Okay? That is something that Alan and I hear a lot. We hear about people who have these big goals, these big dreams, these big aspirations, but they're allowing a couple people in their life. Maybe it's their family, maybe it's their friends. It's usually somebody that they really, really care about. Okay, it's usually somebody very, very close to them who has their heart that has somehow convinced them that they cannot accomplish their goals. So lesson number one out of our 10, practice ending the fear of judgment. Honestly, to me, this one probably is the most important habit, just because if you're fearing judgment, you're not going to lean into your greatness. You're not going to be aligned. You're not going to be doing the thing that you really want to do. All right? Early on in this whole thing, when I was working at the job I used to work at, I told people that I wanted to be a full-time podcaster, and people laughed at me. They said, like, well, you're not Joe Rogan. That could never happen. That's what I got. I got a lot of people that judged me. Now, luckily for me, it was more of like, screw you. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, trust me. I remember having this conversation with a guy I used to work with, Bob, and we were in a library working above the ceiling. And I remember telling him, like, I'm not doing this anymore. Trust me. I'm going to be done this very, very shortly. And everybody laughed at me. And now here we are 4 years later, right? Is that what we said? 4 years later, doing this in the studio, and we have awesome clients, and we have the best listeners / family in the world. And it's all because I didn't allow the fear of judgment from others to stop. So imagine if we didn't start this. Imagine if we didn't have the courage to lean into our greatness and lean into what we really wanted. You guys wouldn't be here today. Like, who knows? I wouldn't know Alan. We wouldn't know Amy and Jenna and Brandon and Alessandro and Jen, and we wouldn't have all these amazing opportunities. You don't know what's on the other side of your dream. You don't know what's on the other side of that ambition, and you'll never know until you start. So the question I want to ask, what is the fear of judgment really holding you back from? It might seem like it's starting a show or starting a website or whatever it may be, but the truth is the intangibles that you don't even know yet are literally unmeasurable. If you said to me, where are you going to be in 3 years? There's no way I'd be able to pinpoint here. Okay? So that, for me, might be the most important one. That's why I wanted to start with it.
The only thing I'll add here is, this made me think of this. I was talking to Kevin earlier in the studio about this. So I recently saw a Facebook memory pop up of, I believe, 4 years ago. I did a speech at my alma mater, WPI, called The Unlimited Power of Three. And I listened back to that speech, like a little bit of it. And honestly, it wasn't good in comparison to what we're capable of now. And I got a lot of people who told me that I wasn't good at speaking back then. And the interesting part about it is that maybe they were right to some extent. But compared to who? Me back then is terrible speaker compared to me now. And me right now will be a terrible speaker compared to me in 4 years from now. But here's the thing. What if I let their judgment stop me from keep speaking? I wouldn't be here with you right now. And so maybe there's some truth to people's criticism, but you can't let it stop you, because then it becomes true. If I had let them stop me from continuing my speaking journey, they would be right. And so I think that's really, really important to understand when you're going into any endeavor, especially into 2021. Next one's me.
It's always funny how that happens.
Right? Okay, so every single morning when I wake up, I listen to Eddie Pinero.
Shout out to Eddie P.
Shout out to Eddie P. So Your World Within is a YouTube channel, and there's one specific video, and you've heard me say this before, but I really want to drive this home because I'm not kidding when I say it's every single day. You can ask Emilia. Emilia, as a matter of fact, I woke up today. She was working from home, from my place, and she was on a call, and I woke up to an email saying that she was basically needed me to be quiet because she was on a call with her boss. I purposely put Ode to Excellence on very, very low, so I could still hear it, okay? And I listened to it while I took a shower. So that morning mindset workout, that AM priming, that feeding my mind first thing in the morning, every morning, is consistent. 6 years straight, never not listening to that video. And I mean actually never. What would your life be like if you really woke up every morning and actually listened to something and fed your mind with something inspirational? I hope it's this podcast. I hope it's Eddie Pinero. I hope it's something that lights your soul on fire. I hope you wake up every single day priming your mind with positivity and getting rid of the junk. And so imagine what your life could be like in 5, 6, 7, 10 years from now if you literally woke up every single day inspired. It changes the game. And it's the same video. It's Eddie Pinero's Ode to Excellence. It's, who's the guy? Tyrese, he's the guy on Transformers.
Tyrese Gibson?
Yeah, that guy. He has a focus video that's on there. It's on my YouTube. If you type in Alan Lazarus YouTube, it'll be a morning mindset workout. The first 4 videos are the ones I listen to every single morning without fail. And a lot of my clients, a lot of the team, they do this now too. And they could attest to this being a complete and utter game changer. So my question that I want you to ask yourself, what are you feeding your mind first thing in the morning? Because that's when your subconscious mind is the most impressionable, right before you go to bed and right when you wake up. I start my morning every morning with Ode to Excellence. That is everything to me, and I guarantee you that that's one of the things that's helped us be, more successful.
And I can definitely attest to that. Alan and I, a couple times, when we were in Florida, I remember, obviously we had double beds, just so everybody knows we had separate beds.
Yeah.
But when we would wake up, I'd get in the shower first, and then Alan would be waking up, and when I would come out of the shower, he'd always have that on. And then California, Florida, New Jersey, we've traveled a good amount together, Arizona. So I can definitely attest to that. Also, Amy and I had this conversation probably a month or 2 ago, and I literally said, Amy, what are you doing first thing in the morning? She said, well, sometimes I go through my phone, and I'm guilty of that too. You will notice a distinct difference if you wake up and go through your phone. You're being reactive versus proactive. Right now, I don't look at my phone until I get home from the gym, usually 6 or 7 a.m. Sometimes I have to because I'm getting messages from the team that are time sensitive, but that's a little bit different. Don't wake up and be reactive because your day will feel way more reactive. It's been across the board for me in terms of understanding that and really leveraging that.
It's fire.
Numero tres.
3.
Uno, dos, tres.
Yeah,
three. Yeah.
Strong work.
This one I'm get super passionate about. So social media isn't just for kids. That is something that I think 2020 has taught a lot of people. So at the beginning of COVID, Alan and I decided, look, we're not going to come out of this worse than we went in. We really, really want to grow from this. We want to try to level up and grow exponentially. What can we do? So we started this. We started the Mastermind during COVID because Alan and I couldn't see each other, and we were like, well, what can we do to get another episode and add more value? That's where this came from. That's where the studio came from. Now, the reason I'm speaking of COVID is because it really has highlighted the fact that virtual is the new norm. Okay? We have not had the pleasure or the opportunity to meet 99% of our listeners, the amazing people that listen to us every day and give us the ability to do this. We haven't been able to meet them yet, but this is all digital. Look at the impact that we can have through a computer screen, through a camera, through these microphones, through the podcast. Whatever your job, occupation, passion, mission, whatever it is, there's a good chance that you could hit way more people if you are leveraging your social media correctly. Now, if you're older and you're saying, well, social media doesn't really apply to me, it does if you have a message. If you have a product, if you have a service. I talk to my clients all the time about this, about look, you have to be on your social media more. And this is why, because you have what people need. When they come looking, you have to be there, right? We are some sort of value to you. We are meeting some sort of need in the market for positivity, for inspiration, for motivation, for knowledge, whatever it may be. It's literally, we're doing you guys a disservice if we don't post on social media. The posts that you don't put up can't help anybody. So I think it's very, very important for people, especially in the older generation, but you younger people too. Going back to number one, if you're afraid of what people think of you and you feel like you're going to get judged for your posts, you're leaving so much on the table. So much on the table. We know a lot of people that are successful from Instagram alone. They've put in a lot of work online and they make a lot of money from it. All right? So imagine this. Imagine things never go back to quote unquote normal. What are you going to do to really leverage what we have? What are you going to do with your passion, with your purpose, with your mission, with your product? You're going to have to get online. So my question to you is, if you reached out to Alan and myself and said, hey, I'd love to be on your podcast, and we looked up your social media or your online footprint, would we have you on? Would we be impressed? Would we even know what you do? That is my question.
There's a question.
There's a question.
There's a question.
Hammer it.
It's awesome.
Which form of social media do you believe is the most important to be on and why?
That's a great question. That is a great question. So a couple things. Number one, depends on what your, I feel like Gary Vee. It depends on what your mission purpose is. So right now, and I've been obsessed with Gary Vee lately, so it's interesting that we're talking about this, but the two best for organic reach are TikTok and LinkedIn. So I literally just started a TikTok because I figured why not try it. and I'm getting 2 to 3 times the views that I'm getting on other platforms, which is very nice. But I would say pick 2 or 3 and then go all in, but also understand that your content should be catered to them, right? So, Alan putting fitness pictures up back in the day on LinkedIn might not have been the play, but on Instagram, that works really, really well. So I think it's understanding, what service do you have? If you have a very professional service or product, LinkedIn's probably the play. If you want to leverage quick videos, like funny stuff, TikTok, Instagram are probably the play. I think it depends on what you're doing.
The ones that I love most are Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. For your career, you got to be on LinkedIn, especially if you're in corporate and want to take that road, your career development. Again, to go back to the original point of this line item, and I really appreciate the question, the world cannot find you if you're not telling the world what you do best. There is no room for modesty in selling yourself. We got messaged earlier today by 2 guys who have a podcast. And fortunately for them and for us, we were willing to talk more openly about Next Level Podcast Solutions, where they reached out and said, listen, we need help. We just started a show. We've got 3 episodes. Like, we need help. If we didn't have the courage to tell them, listen, this is what we do and this is what we do best, we are going to help you crush it. We know this arena. And we weren't willing to communicate that to the world. They don't know where to find us. If you don't have a LinkedIn with your degrees, your courses, your value, the marketplace doesn't know how to find you. And so to answer the original question, I think Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn are the 3 big ones that I think are the most valuable, primarily because you're going to be able to network. I mean, a lot of you got a message on Instagram DM from our wonderful team and from me and from Kevin that is the only reason you're here getting this value. One of the only reasons. It's like if we didn't have the courage to send those messages, you might not be here. You would not get this value. You might be doing something less valuable. And so it's really, really important for you to understand what is the goal, what is my mission, who am I and who do I want to serve, and then what platform are they on, and then how do I provide value in the context of that. And the last thing I want to say here too about this line item, about social media isn't just for kids. See, we see 100 views and we think, that's no good. But if you saw 100 people in a room intently listening to what you have to say, you'd sing a whole different tune. Right now, there's I don't know how many people are in this room. Maybe it's 20. I don't know. But the thing is 100 views seems like a bad thing, quote unquote bad. When I see 90 views on one of my Instagram TVs, it's like, oh, that one didn't do well. That's 90 people who just heard that concept that might have changed their life. I'll never forget. There was a man and a woman who lost their son the previous day, and they messaged me on Snapchat and said that my post helped them through their darkest time. And I go back to that because I remember thinking to myself, a lot of those posts I get shit on for, but that's okay because I was there for them at that tough moment. At one point, Amy, Tiffany, there's certain people who reached out because we were willing to put ourselves out there. And we were willing to get judged, and we still are. I still get judged, regularly. But at the end of the day, you can stay silent the rest of your life. It's not going to help anyone.
This is the other thing, too, just quickly. Again, 2020 really highlighted this. I have, if one of my friends works for the government, they're never going back to the office again. They're all going to work virtually, right? That's probably the way of the future, genuinely. And you can literally make a living from your home through social media. We can literally, I've Zoomed with people all over the place. This podcast has been heard on every continent in the world, 90 plus countries. We don't have to leave the studio if we don't want. So the world is going digital. And what happened was COVID really highlighted that for a lot of people. Now, luckily, Alan and I were already kind of on the train. It's probably going to get worse in terms of going that way. So it's probably going to be, that might be the most important thing on here, honestly. Yeah. And I didn't really think so when I was writing it, but I really do now.
It was on its way there anyway. COVID just accelerated that. Again, it's really important to understand, what are the biggest companies in the world? Amazon, Facebook, Google, YouTube, which is Google. If you look at the most successful companies in the world, guess what? They're all online. Walmart used to be more successful than Amazon. Why is Amazon beating Walmart now? because we all want to stay home. That doesn't mean we can't also have live events and have people in person connections, but the world, you have a global marketplace. There's 7.4 billion people on this planet. 4.2 of them are online. Eventually, it's going to be everybody. You got to anticipate the future, and digital is the future. And the last thing I'll say about this, but it's so important, it's cheaper to be virtual. Businesses don't want to pay $25,000 for rent at a building for their people anymore when they're actually more productive from home. The whole world is learning this, guys. All the business people that I coach and that I learn from, mentors and such, they're all like, holy crap, I don't need to spend 20 G's a month on this building anymore. I can actually be more productive without that expense. The whole world's headed that way, and we all have to prepare for that. If your LinkedIn's not updated, your Instagram's not updated, your Facebook's not updated, if there's anything online that doesn't make you marketable and doesn't authentically communicate to the world who you are and who you aspire to be, you're going to have to clean that up. It's just the future.
Strong work.
Thank you, man.
You're up.
Oh, I'm up again. Number 4. My car only runs when there's 2 things. 1, gas in the tank, and apparently a muffler. My car's in the shop right now. And number 2, personal development is on. So for me, I do not drive anywhere. I turn my car into a classroom. I don't drive anywhere ever without some form of personal development on. And we were crunching the numbers on this earlier because I really want to try to, trust me, I like music too. I really do. I really love music, I do. But I understand, I think, the downside of listening to music versus listening to personal development. So let's say you and I in 2021, we both love learning, we both love growth, we both want to be more successful, we both want to help tons of people. I'm going to get 365 hours. I go to the gym just about every day. I go to and from the studio. So let's say I'm averaging 1 hour per day in my car. If you're listening to music and I'm listening to a book or a podcast or whatever, I'm getting 365 hours of personal development, motivating, inspiring content above you. That compound effect is insane. It's absolutely insane. And honestly, it's more than an hour a day, but it's every day. I remember Emilia saying, how do you devour so many books? Honestly, it's Audible. I just always have Audible on when I'm folding laundry, when I'm in my car. And imagine what your life could be like. Imagine if you had, every time you listen to music, I know this is hardcore and I know you're not going to like me saying this. Imagine if every time you listen to music, that was actually a book. How bright would you be? How much would you understand? How much more valuable would you be to the marketplace? How much more self-esteem might you have? Dare to Lead by Brené Brown. You know, James Clear's book on habits, Atomic Habits, The Compound Effect. These books will change your life and turn your car into a classroom. So my question for you, and the one I want you to ask yourself from 0 to 10, how valuable is what I'm listening to? Instead of how much do I enjoy this, ask yourself, how good is this for my future?
I didn't know if that was a long pause.
Insert long pause.
We're done.
Yeah.
So Alan and I have a client that you guys have actually met. He was on the live mastermind probably, I don't know, 20, 30 weeks ago. My goodness. No, maybe 20 weeks ago. John Laredo, he's got a podcast called Tomorrow's Leader. And a lot of what John talks about is the importance of leading yourself. At the end of the day, you are the most important person that you lead, right? You're the one making the decisions in your life. You're the ones who are going to be building these habits, okay? Imagine that there is the best version of you looking down on you in the morning when you hit snooze, or looking down on you when you choose, you know, the hamburger over the salad, or when you choose to spend the money that you said you weren't going to spend. At the end of the day, if you guys really want to make 2021 the most successful year of your life, you got to stop letting yourself down. In whatever way that means, skipping the gym, sleeping in, you know, drinking when you say you're not going to, staying up past your bedtime, whatever it is. If that best version of you is looking down on you, what would they do? What would they say? What would they think? All right? At the end of the day, the year is only going to be as good as your decisions. And that's like, it's somewhat hardcore, but if you're consistently and constantly letting yourself down, what results do you really think you're going to get? There's a reason that when you're super motivated and inspired, it's easy to make progress because you're making the right decisions. But when things go off track and you feel like, oh, you know what? It's been a long day. I feel like I'm not winning. Then you tend to listen to the other voice in your head. All right? So imagine if at the end of the year you looked back and you could count on both of your hands how many times you didn't listen to yourself, you didn't lead yourself in the right way. You could count on these two hands how many times the best version of you looked down and said, I wouldn't do that. How much different would your year be? It would look completely different than last year. I think at the end of the day, the promises that we're not keeping to ourselves are a lot of the goals. We're letting them slip right through our hands. So how often are you holding yourself accountable? How often are you letting yourself down? And how often are you being the best leader for you and your life?
If you were your own coach, what would that person say about your progress lately? You know, I remember John Maxwell saying, there's nothing I can do for an undisciplined person. And what is self-discipline? And the reason why it's self-discipline, self. It's so much easier for Kevin and I to talk about this stuff than it is for us to live this stuff. One of the reasons why we do habits so often is because it's the least sexy, but it's the most important. We have a few themes that we've done 40 weeks. Sometimes it's relationships and stuff, but it's a lot of times it's consistency, it's positive habits, it's system of success. Why? Because it's the truth. We're not here to get, 6-pack abs in 6 days. We're not here to get all your goals in 2021 in the first month.
That's what I'm here for.
Oh, it is.
What number is that?
That's the next one. That's the next one. Number 5 is my favorite. No, but seriously, it's a lot of BS. Kevin and I were watching someone recently, and she basically said something along the lines of, people who think entrepreneurship is hard are crazy. It's much easier than you think. That is crap.
I told Taryn about it.
That is
fired up.
Absolute crap. It's them trying to get you into their program. If you think it's easy, you'll come. And Kevin and I just can't. We cannot congruently, authentically say things like that. So I know that this stuff isn't the sexiest, but it is what's going to get you results. There's a reason we're not all rich and ripped, because it's really, really challenging. And I just want to reiterate that. Do we have any other questions, Amy, so far?
No, not yet.
Okay. I want to encourage everybody to ask questions, so I wanted to invite people to that. Are we on number 6?
Yeah, we're on number 6. Can I throw a quick bonus?
Please.
Understand. So this isn't just going to apply to 2021, but it's a new adoption of a mindset. Understand that we're playing the long game. Like, understand that 2021 is just 1 year of many that you're going to have left. Understand that the habits you're going to build are going to compound, and if you can build good habits this year, you can carry them over to next year. That's something that I'm really, really focusing on, is understanding that this is a long game, and the people who want to win in the short term, it's just not a winning game. And people who tell you it is, just maybe they want something different than you, but at the end of the day, we're not doing this. We're not creating these habits so we can stop them. Right. We didn't create this podcast so we could stop it. We didn't create our relationships and find amazing women so we could stop them. There is no end game for this, just getting to the highest, most next level.
It's fire.
I have a question.
That is amazing.
How did you guys become so self-disciplined?
Oh my goodness. Go ahead. You can hammer it.
I can go a lot of ways with this. I would say you build it over time. And that's what I wanted to say to everybody as well, is we still struggle with all of this. We're not a 10 out of 10 in all of these.
No.
We're more percentage. What I can tell you is that me today versus me 4 years ago, it's not even close. That's the key. How do you get a little bit better every single day at each of these? And you can even do one at a time. You can take any one of these. That's why I wanted everybody to write them down. Okay, this week I'm going to work on this. How did we get so good at self-discipline? I would say decide to be the most disciplined person ever. That's how I did it. I decided if I want Olympic level results, I'm going to have an Olympic level mindset. I'm not playing this life for anything other than world class. And if that's going to require more of me, then like, and I have to say this. If you want to look good for that wedding coming up, you'll never come close to someone who's trying to be the best fitness body they can possibly be. I don't want to look back 20 years from now and know I didn't give it my all. I know that at the end of, 2021, end of 2025, end of 2030, I want to look back and know that I gave it everything I had. I left it all on the court every single day, forever. I would say decide to be the self-disciplined person. And just to define self-discipline here, self-discipline is, in my opinion, doing what you know you should do that you don't feel like doing. If I could count the number of times that I do something that I know I should do, but don't feel like it, it's most of my days. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Most of my life is that. But I also have results that other people just never will. It's a trade-off. It's a conscious effort. And by the way, this road is the better one. It's the harder one, but it's the better one. Self-discipline is the way. And I'll tell you what John Maxwell says. He says that if you want to coast through life, it'll be easy, but it's going to be far less rewarding. If you want to climb through life and you sincerely want that, it's going to be unbelievable. And you can take it from Kev, Amy, anyone who's chosen in advance to climb over coasting, you're going to be better off and you're going to be more fulfilled, I believe.
A little hardcore.
Yeah.
You're the kid fired up.
There's some more questions coming.
Hold on. Can I answer this one?
Oh, sorry. I got really excited.
No, you're good. I promise. I'll answer this quick. I'll give you the short version. I would say create enough necessity. So for me, I burn my boats. I told my mother and my grandmother, I will never go to a job. I will never fill out an application or punch a time clock again, no matter what that takes. I burn my boats. There's enough necessity. And this is the thing. So many people have it set up so they want to do these things, but there's no reason to. People reach out and say, Kev, how do I get up early? Design a reason to. You don't get up early just to get up early. You get up early to go to the gym or to meditate or to do your yoga or to go for a run or to take the dog for a walk or whatever it may be. I think you have to decide what is necessary enough for you to do it for. Assign a greater purpose, right? At the end of the day, and I have convinced myself of this, if I don't do what it takes to stay here, I don't get to. That's it. And I mean this in the most loving way. You guys appreciate the fact that Alan and I are good human beings, but the second we stop learning, we can't teach anymore, and we don't get to do this anymore, right? It's on us. It's on us. The podcast growth is dependent on us and our growth. So at the end of the day, I think we just have a ton of necessity to do these things. And I think, like Alan said, we decided. I designed this by saying, I'm not working for somebody else ever again. That's not the life I want. I need to figure out a way to stay doing this long enough, and I created the necessity. That's my answer.
There's nothing wrong with working for someone else,
Not at
by
all.
the way.
Not at all.
And that actually might be the better play for some people, if I'm honest.
Yeah, this definitely isn't for everybody.
I'm going to say this because I want to give Kevin credit. I think that what Kevin's gone through mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, in entrepreneurship would have killed some people.
I appreciate that.
And I don't mean killed them in terms of actually them dying. I think it would have really devastated their self-confidence, their self-esteem. They would have been on the opposite. Instead of finding a way to stay, they would have gone the polar opposite to the easy road. So I want everyone to understand that you want to stretch the rubber band, but don't let it snap. Don't let it snap.
Yeah, I don't ever suggest anybody does what I do. Just so you know. You're up again.
I am.
Oh, wait, no, we have more questions.
Yeah, there's more questions.
blacked
So
out.
these two questions, they kind of piggyback off of one of each other. So do you want me to just do them together, or do you want me to do them separately? 'Cause they're very closely related.
Let's do them together and see if we can answer one.
Okay.
Like, combined one.
Okay. So how do you build self-esteem and confidence, as well as give yourself grace when you fall off the wagon? But how do you stay motivated to get back on track after that?
I think for building self-esteem and confidence, I think what you have to do is set a goal, and then even if it's a small one, and then accomplish the goal. All right, so we have something called the confidence conundrum, and what was the other one called? Confidence connection? I don't remember what it was, but basically the reason most people aren't confident is because they don't take action. They have a goal, they don't take action, they don't get feedback, and that feedback thus proves to them that they're not capable of accomplishing the goal. I lived that was my life for the first 25 years of my life. I want to do something. I don't believe I can. I don't take action. I don't learn anything. Then in my mind, I couldn't do it anyway. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. So all you have to do, a couple things. Number one, get around somebody who believes in you. So Alan did that for me. I'd love to really grow this podcast. Don't know how I can do it. I don't even know if I can. Alan instilled belief. So he was the bridge from not doing it to doing it, right? And again, we've learned a lot along the way, but I think you need to get around somebody who believes in you. That's one of the best ways to build confidence. Or start small and say like, okay, today I'm going to do one push-up. Do 1 push-up. Tomorrow, I'm going to do 2. The next day, I'm going to do 3. Today, I'm going to, Amy's a great example. Amy and I went to the mall. She said, hey, I'm afraid to talk to strangers. We started small, right? Let's go into this store and we'll ask about these bean bags. And then we'll go into this other store and ask about this. And then by the end of the time, we were talking to random people about random stuff, right? So I would say step by step. And then falling off, I'll let Alan do that. You can do the rest.
I think that for everyone in this room right now and for everyone listening, at one point, Amy was scared to go into a store and ask about a product.
Me too.
Now she's on this, hammering questions. She's doing Next Level Nation lives. She's meeting people. She's having conversations. She's masterminding. She's got a coach. Like, that's possible for every single one of you. And maybe you're already at that level. I don't know. But that's what I believe in so deeply. So how do you build self-esteem and self-confidence? Get around people who proved that it's true. Look at the correct evidence. Amy had a lot of reasons why she couldn't succeed at school, and she was looking at that. And I remember Kevin saying, look at the other column of the reasons you will succeed. And she succeeded with a 3.8. It's like it was just the story she told herself of I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. It's not true. And this is the more hardcore thing that I'll say to answer this question. Self-esteem is challenging when you're constantly doing something beyond your current capabilities. So I'll try to use me as an example because last night I was very, very proud of myself for many reasons. I did an awesome Next Level Nation live with Amy that I think was really valuable and really good. Okay, and it was about self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence, all that. I hammered some emails to people that we did relationship talks with that I really wanted to get to. I did a lot of work in the studio. I stayed focused. It was a Sunday night and I got a lot done. I went to the gym, did really good there. Here's the interesting thing. I stacked self-esteem each time, but here's the problem. When I got home, everything was wonderful. There were 2 things that I jeffed. One, I was supposed to grab Emilia's Uggs at the gym, and I totally forgot. I told her I'd grab them, and I didn't. She had left them there, and I felt bad about that. And then number 2, Emilia wants to try to go to bed earlier. We ended up going to bed late, and she got up really early, and sleep's really important to her, and I didn't feel like I supported her there. The truth of the matter is that trying really difficult things kind of will hurt your self-esteem. I think I'd be lying to you if I told you it didn't. I did a lot of really good things yesterday. Very wonderful, good habits. I followed through on a lot of really good stuff. I did a couple jeffings. I'm that way every single day. And so sometimes you got to choose between feeling good about yourself and doing good things. You can try to combine them and integrate them, and you got to look at the wins, of course, but you also got to look at where am I really not stepping up? Where am I letting myself down? You have to balance it. You can't only look at the good, but you also can't only look at the bad. If you only look at the bad, you'll always feel bad about yourself. I'm guilty of that. Or you only look at the good, you think everything's great, but you're not progressing.
Also, really quick, and this was a game changer for me. Getting back on track, understand that no one thing is going to create a win or a loss. We had Lori Harder on the show for episode 34. I was convinced we were Lewis Howes after that. Didn't happen. I jeffed the intro with Dean Graziosi, the biggest guest we've ever had. Nothing happened. I think getting back on the horse or getting back on the saddle or getting back in the arena is understanding that, honestly, the last thing that you jeffed probably isn't that big of a deal, honestly. Like, we associate way more pain than anybody else does. I don't know if anybody even recognized the fact that I jeffed with Dean. I know Alan did. I think maybe Amy did. I don't know if anybody else did. I know I did. Nobody emailed me and said, hey, man, you just screwed up the biggest interview you've ever had. Like, that didn't happen, right? So I think it's understanding that it's not going to be one thing that creates the win or the loss. And I think very similar to what Alan said. When things are going really well, you can look at your losses and say, I could have done better there, I could have done better there. When things are burning to the ground, focus on your wins. You know what? Yeah, I sucked. I didn't do a great job at that speech, but I did show up and I did try something new. Right? I tried something completely different that I've never spoke about before. It didn't go super well, but I'm proud of myself for giving it a shot. Mm-hmm. It's a completely different reframe. So,
fire.
We got a hammer.
Yeah, we got 20 minutes.
Just 5.
Amy, any other questions, or are we good to go?
Unleash the beast.
You're good to go.
Unleash the beast.
All right.
Number 6.
Your walking pace is someone else's all-out sprint, and someone else's walking pace is your all-out sprint. Let me explain. So, David Meltzer is a coach of ours, as you guys know, and his level of execution makes Kevin and I look undisciplined.
Physically ill.
Genuinely.
Makes me physically ill.
His level of if you think our level of self-discipline is high relative to who? I can tell you for sure David Meltzer is far more disciplined than I am. That's okay. He's a coach and a mentor of ours. Why? Because we're trying to learn how to be as self-disciplined as him. And so that's really the lesson here is how many coaches and mentors do you really have? And all of this stuff is going to rub off on you if you can get around people. I think the NLU team and the NLU community, I think what we're building is unbelievably special. Because when you get a part of this community, it's like everybody's trying to level up. Everybody's trying to get to the next level. I don't want to be left behind. You almost have to leverage your own fear of being left behind. And what's interesting, and all of you can probably relate to this, if I have certain associations, they almost subconsciously wish I was less disciplined. But Dave wants me to be more disciplined. I actually have to be more disciplined just to stay in the room with him. You know, if you play tennis against someone better than you, just to stay on the court, you have to get better. I want you to be more around more coaches and mentors. I want you to make it's uncomfortable. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. When I first started talking to Brant, I was like, oh my God, like I can't pitch and catch with him at the level I'm used to. It felt uncomfortable, but it also is where all the growth is. And so imagine what your life could be like if you had a coach 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago. I have a bunch of mentors, and I'm so blessed, but I also chose to seek those mentors. I chose to get into the room with multimillionaires and learn from them. All of that was difficult, genuinely. And a lot of the time, it was mirrors I did not want to look in. But it also helped me grow. And so you got to have to choose. And the best coaches and mentors are going to tell you what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear. That's what Kevin and I try to do on this show. And so my question that I want you to ask yourself is, who are you learning from? From 0 to 10, how well developed are they? How congruent are they? What's their character like? Who are you learning from and why?
If you guys listen to podcasts or if you watch YouTube videos or if you read, imagine being able to ask the author a custom question every time you talk to them. It makes the learning way more specific and way deeper. Where we could ask Evan about YouTube. Like Evan Carmichael's the best in the world, one of the best in the world at YouTube, especially in our space. We got to ask him whatever we wanted, right? That's custom, that's specialized, that's specific, and that's tactical too. For me, I like the tactics. Alan likes the deeper understanding, but you know, he's a little weird. Number 7, is your circle elevating you or is it suffocating you? All right, very similar to what Alan just said about the people that you surround yourself with. In 2021, and this isn't a law, but your success and your habits and your opportunities a lot of time are going to depend on the people that you're surrounding yourself with. All right? Alan and I we've been parts of many masterminds. Kim and Spike Spencer and Summer Scalero, AK we were with a couple of weeks ago, Mark Metry, Catherine Nash, Eddie P, T-Mac. I'm sure I'm forgetting people. But like, honestly, and Alan really brought that to me. I always hated masterminds. It's like, yo, can I call out of this one? But we have learned so much from them. T-Mac, Catherine, and Kim Spencer really brought the idea for Next Level Podcast Solutions, right? When we were living in Florida for the month of December 2 years ago, I literally bought T-Mac, Terrence McMahon, all of his equipment. I showed him exactly what to do. I showed him how to set it up, and then we shot a course. And he's like, you could do this for people, right? And he actually connected me with John Laredo, who was our first client together. That all came from a mastermind. I'm sure that this, in some way, shape, or form, this mastermind that we're doing came from a deeper understanding that we learned from somebody else. Mm-hmm. It is so, so, so valuable. So in 2021, get yourself a coach. Get around mentors. But also join a mastermind where you're going to be around like-minded people. Like you guys are doing with this, right? Just like you're doing with this, but maybe there's one that's even more specific to you. I want you guys to join us every single week, but I also realize there are other things out there that might be more aligned in terms of your business or whatever it may be. You might have people in your life that are a little bit ahead of you. Try to get in their orbit, all right? So imagine if every week from here on out, you had a meeting with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people doing the same thing that you're doing, the same core values, the same beliefs. Imagine how much further you would get this year if you really leverage the power of other people's minds throughout a meeting every single week. No question.
So we're going to get a little tactical here.
Let's see here. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need the right recipe to bake a great cake.
That's great.
It's not
I
bad.
like that.
It's not bad. This is about reverse engineering success. You know, I often tell the story of imagine if you walked into a field and someone was laying bricks and you said, "What are you building?" And they said, "I have no idea." I feel like that's how a lot of people live their life. You've heard me say that before, but I want to get specific. So I was on a phone call with a client recently. I believe this was last Thursday. And it was like, okay, what are your goals for 2021? What are your top 3 goals? This would make it the best year of your life. Okay, I want to make 200 grand. I want to travel to another continent. And I think the third one was something fitness related. I want to lose 20 pounds. Something like that. It was like, okay, that's great. Goals are great. What do you have to do? How can we reverse engineer that goal? Reverse engineer that goal to daily tasks. And so we figured it out, and basically it was like, okay, you want to make $200,000 in 2021. Great. Totally doable, totally possible. Let's make it happen. Now, based on 2020 and 2019, what has to happen daily in order to make that happen? So how many monthly deals do you need? Okay, so first, 200,000 divided by 12 is 16,000 something. I forget what, but that's your monthly cash flow. So you need to make that amount every month. Okay, how many deals would you need to do on average in order to make $16,000 a month? Okay, 4. Okay, how many calls do you need to make a day in order to get 4 deals, typically? And it turned out it was 10 cold calls. It was 3 follow-up emails. It was, if I remember correctly, it was 10 snail mail, meaning sending actual mail in the old way, And then it was one more thing, and I forget exactly what it was. But the point is okay, are we on track or off track? If you want to make 200 grand, that's great. All of us want to make 200 grand, right? Are you willing to do everything it takes every single day? 200 grand sounds awesome. Does making 10 cold calls a day sound awesome? That's brutal. No. For anyone who's ever made cold calls, that sucks so hard. Wanting the reward without what's necessary to achieve it is what we are all guilty of. And whatever your goals are for 2021, I want you to reverse engineer them and say, do I still want this goal? Is this still a goal I want? And if so, that's awesome. Do it. But understand the implications of your goals, because otherwise you're going to keep letting yourself down and hitting your self-esteem. You're going to keep not doing your resolutions. And I don't want to see anyone in that place. So imagine what your life could be like in 3, 5, 10 years, or even 1 year if you actually reverse engineered the finish line. It's like, okay, I want to do a marathon. Okay, so I should run every day. Okay, how much? Okay, well, let's do a mile a day, and then let's do 2 miles a day, and then let's do 3 miles a day, and then you work your way up. Anyone can do it. It's just a matter of whether or not you're going to do it, and you decide to do it, and you stay consistent. So what are you building in 2021? What are the bricks that need to be laid each day? And are you tracking that? And we're going to get into that.
Brick by brick. We got 11 minutes. We're going to hammer. Okay. Number 9. And this is something I'm trying to lean more into in my own life, something specifically that I have to break free of. So it's not all about the grind. It's not just all about the grind. Now, if you find yourself on the other end where you don't feel like you're doing nearly enough work, obviously run this through your own filter, of your personal experience. But most people in this space think that it's all grind, no sleep, no rest, and they wear that as a badge of honor, okay? At my old job, I literally used to get 4, 5, 6 hours of sleep maybe, and I did that for years. And I never knew how that was affecting my cognitive abilities until I started doing this and actually sleeping 7 or 8 hours a night. Now, I still have to get better because I feel bad when I don't get up at 4 a.m. That's a Kevin thing that he's working through. But what is your sleep schedule? Like, are you the person who says, I'll get more sleep, on the weekend, or I'll do that next week, or I'll try to do that tomorrow? Guys, a good 8 hours of work or a good 12 hours of work after 8 hours of sleep is going to be way better than spotty work. It just is. And honestly, we're not even talking about the long-term effect of not getting enough sleep, like memory loss and Alzheimer's and all that stuff. Find a way to balance it and understand that your sleep is actually going to help you. That's the issue I have right now is I want to be up at 4 so I can go to the gym at 5. When I'm not, I feel like I'm behind already. I have to break free of that. But when I come into the studio running on 4 hours of sleep and try to have a deep conversation and I'm struggling, I feel the pain of that, right? I never before even understood how bad it was. I never had something to compare it to because I was so used to not getting any sleep. That, for you guys, if you fall on that end of the all grind, no sleep, that might be the most important thing for 2021 because it's going to ignite the compound effect and you're going to be able to get more sleep for the rest of your life. And trust me, from the research, 40, 50 years down the road, you will thank yourself.
Yeah, that's absolute fire. So important. The sleep isn't productive thing is such nonsense. I used to be guilty of that too. Many of you know early in my personal development journey, I'd get up at 4 a.m. every day. Now I do not set an alarm. Full transparency. There is no alarm set for me.
Living the dream.
Unless I have something specific I have to get to. My mornings are for me, and I don't want to talk about me, but I do want to give you insights into this so that maybe you can apply it. My day is broken into thirds. First third is for personal development and for sleep and for self-awareness and for self-care. Second third is for service. That's what we're doing right now. Third is for my relationship and fitness. And a lot of times those are the same. I'm going to the gym with Emilia tonight. So the point is, though, is that I used to be the don't get quality sleep consistently, wake up at 4 a.m. I realized very quickly that was short-sighted. Now I always get 7 to 8 hours. Anyone who's traveled with me or Emilia can attest to that. I do not set an alarm. Sleep is sacred. That's my new saying. Sleep is sacred. Okay, I know we got a hammer. Do you study your calendar? Number 10. I remember when I was first being coached by my Aunt Joanne. For those of you who don't know her, she's got a super successful company called Element Financial in New York City, and one of the first woman-founded, if not the first, financial firms in New York City. Many of her clients are A-list actors and a lot of really cool stuff. Amazing woman, philanthropic, just such an awesome mentor. And she coached me for a long time. And early in my journey, I would see her calendar and I would get freaked out. Because it was like, oh my God, like right now I don't want to live my life like that. Now my calendar looks a lot like what hers did back then. And the truth of the matter is that if you're not using a calendar and using it effectively, you can talk to Amy, you can talk to Kevin, you can talk to myself, you can talk to people on the team. If you're not optimizing your calendar, you are not a peak performer. I've never seen a peak performer who doesn't use a calendar. Never. And I know that's hardcore, and maybe you don't want to use your calendar, just like I didn't back then, and I'm guilty of this too. But if I could go back and talk to that Alan, I would say, Alan, you got to get over this fear of your calendar. You want all this freedom, but you also want all this success. It's goals in conflict. So maybe the answer isn't no, I don't want my calendar to be overloaded. Maybe it's I need to optimize. Remember the thirds I just told you? I freaked out because I saw her first third was all Jeffed. It was all a lot of stuff, and that's her system. So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. For me, I'm religious about my calendar. I make sure that everything reflects the truth. If this were to go over, I would add that on my calendar after so that when I review each month and each week, I can dial in where I'm spending my time. So my question for you is imagine, first of all, what your life could be like in 2021 if you really dialed in where you spend your time. And the question is, how often are you looking at your calendar? How often are you using your calendar? And what Kevin would want me to ask is, what are you doing next Friday at 4 p.m.?
That's what I would ask.
And if you don't know the answer to that, that's okay, because maybe it's white space, silence between the notes.
That's what mine is.
Is it? Yeah. Hell yeah. But use your calendar. That's number 10.
That's number 10.
Yep.
All right, we're going to hit you with 2 bonuses real quick. All
Wait,
right.
hold
Oh,
on.
my God. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
What are your best or favorite calendar optimization techniques?
Go ahead. Go ahead on that one.
I use Google Calendar. Best calendar optimization techniques. Make sure it reflects the truth. Set your week up for success. So Sunday should be Sunday for me. I'll just use me because I know that best. Sunday, I try to review my previous week and see what did I spend time on that I spent too much time that I want to make less. What did I spend time on where I really was valuable and I want to do more? In other words, from 0 to 10, how aligned was each line item? At all moments, if this mastermind is not a 10 out of 10 of alignment for you, in my opinion, you shouldn't be here. I know that sounds, again, hardcore, but I want you to reflect on this. Was that a good use of my time? Was that valuable? Was that congruent with my highest self? So Sunday, review the previous week, set up the next week. Each night before bed, and we're going to get into this in the bonuses, I review my daily calendar. I'm going to do this tonight. After the gym with Emilia, I'm going to say, okay, did we get to the gym at the time we said? Did we leave at the time we said we were going to? Sometimes we talk in the car after the gym about leadership or whatever. And so I actually add that to the calendar, and then I change the title to reflect what it was. and I do it while it's fresh so that when I review the calendar a month from now, a week from now, whatever, I can look back, oh, that's right, we had that deep leadership talk in the car after. So I do what's called cash out, and we're going to get into that, but weekly review, daily cash out. Thoughts?
I love it.
Thank you.
I love that. I'm going to let that be the answer so I can hammer this one.
Cool.
Real quick. So number one bonus. If I asked you what your biggest weakness is, would you know what it is, and what are you doing to fix it? All right. So I will never forget Alan and I were at Brant Pinvidic's house in California, and him and Brant were talking about business, and I was like, I'm going to jump in the pool here. I'm going to go ride one of your mini horses because I was super overwhelmed. I had no idea what they were talking about. And from that conversation, I told Alan, hey, I have to really level up my strategy, my business mind, all of that stuff, right? In 2021, imagine if you came up right now with your weakness. What is your weakness? Oh, my weakness is emotional intelligence. Cool. Buy a book tonight on emotional intelligence and focus 2021 on bringing that up. That's my point on this one. Find something, whatever your biggest weakness is, find a way to improve that every single day. I call it specific learning. If you're struggling with business, learn business. If you're struggling with habits, learn habits. If you're struggling with emotional intelligence, vulnerability, whatever it may be, commit to it. Like Alan said, in the car or wherever it is, you will be a completely different human at the end of the year, and then you can rinse and repeat. What's your weakness? How do you strengthen it?
We only have 3 minutes here, so I'll just say a tiny piece. I think, again, I want to give credit to Kevin in this situation because in that moment with Brant, we were talking about Brant's future, not ours. We were talking about his next steps. He was the executive of a large company that was a TV producer in Hollywood, and he's a multimillionaire, very successful guy, awesome guy.
Nice house.
And we were talking about private equity and leverage buyouts and next steps and different things. And Kevin didn't know what we were talking about at the time. Now he does to an extent. But the difference between Kevin and most people is they would run from that truth. They wouldn't say, you know what, I don't know enough about business. Instead, they'd say, business isn't for me. That's the difference.
And I did at the beginning. I was like, business isn't for me. But then it was like, well, again, I think it's the necessity. I think it's the necessity and the goal. We want to change a billion lives. I got to figure out business, and I got to get over my damn fear of planes. Go ahead. Sorry.
Amen. No, that's true. I appreciate that. So it's not just being in difficult conversations. The question is just don't run from them. Be curious. People who are more successful than you, this is going to be hard to hear, they do know more than you. That's why they're successful. Maybe they're not as good a person. Don't let that shut you off from the learning. Okay, you have value, and I guarantee you know something better than they do. Everyone in this room knows something better than I do. Find those things, learn from people, be humble. Okay, last bonus. Quick. Cash out. We already talked about it. Do you know where you're at? In other words, tracking. So I'll use a simple analogy here. So I was a busboy when I was 16 years old at a place called Crystal Lake Golf Course. And at the end of the night, all of the waiters who I helped support would have to cash me out. And they'd say, okay, they'd have to figure out in the register how much money they made, and then they'd give me a percentage. Now, hopefully, I just trusted them, and hopefully they were giving me the percentage I was supposed to get. But the question I want you to ask yourself is, are you cashing out at the end of the night? In other words, I said, this is what I want to do today. This is what I actually did. If you're on the NLU team, you know that we have a system of success where we cash out every single day.
100%.
I had a 63.7% day yesterday, I think. 100% for Jeff. So the question isn't whether or not you're winning or losing. How aware are you of winning or losing? And by the way, if you don't like the word winning and losing, it's your own game. You design the system. So you're either winning or losing at your own game. I'm not going to tell you you're winning or you're losing. I can't. I don't know what you want. But you can tell yourself that. The question is, are you aware of it? So are you tracking? If not, why not? And we have 36 seconds left.
My goodness. We actually have a minute. See, that's why I said it, just in case. I used to work at a gas station, just so you guys know, behind the scenes of a gas station. Every day at the end of your shift, you have to look at the amount of gallons you sold, multiply it by the price, run the cash and the credit cards. That's how you figure out how much you sold and whether or not you were on budget.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys so very much. We are doing listener lives in Next Level Nation. If you want to get outside your comfort zone, maybe you want to practice your speaking, or you just want to introduce yourself to the amazing community that we have. Amy is running those, and she is crushing those. Charisse was on one last week, and we want to get you guys to introduce yourself to the community so people can know more about you. But for a lot of people, it's getting out of your comfort zone. like you're in a room in front of some people, but we have the best family in the world. Nobody's going to judge you. It's a great opportunity for you to try something new and really expand yourself for 2021. I challenge you to make that one of your habits.
There's no one in this community you can't learn something from. That's the coolest part about the community is everyone's trying to get better. So hopefully you can reach out to them and yeah.
Much love. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we don't have fans, we have family, and we will see you at the next level.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.